My remote viewing of target number Y241311, right from the get-go, right from the start, I got a male figure. Age is approximately late 40s to mid 50s is when I remote viewed this session. He seemed to be. He had a very captain boat-like look to me, like a New England boat captain. I saw he was wearing a black coat, like an overcoat you'd wear on a boat or something. He had a scruffy beard. Occasionally, he wore like a captain's hat or a hat. Later in life, he wore glasses. I didn't see him during the remote viewing session at all with glasses, but he had kind of grayish, blackish, grayish hair. His hair was sort of kind of curly, but not really too straight or anything. Um, Everything to me with this particular male was related to being a captain or explorer of some sort. I sensed that he was surrounded always by water, open seas, the feeling of down here, movement like in a boat up and down, like open seas. He has lots of stories, and I get the feeling that he either had a great imagination or he actually experienced some very odd things when he was at sea or when he was out doing his adventuring, when he was exploring. I had the phrase come in tales of the sea. I believe he's in a leadership or a captain of a boat type person. Stories of the sea. He, some of this stuff is, I don't know what to believe. I'm just telling the data. I believe he has stories about mermaids, sea creatures, anomalies at sea type stuff. I had a sense that he was secretly drinking. Um, he had like a hidden bottle of scotch or something. He had nightmares. I know that I could feel that. He was a lonely type person, very isolated inside. He was an internal person. People laughed at his stories. Um, like I had earlier, the sense during the remote viewing session of like moves, waves, and stuff when he was during the remote viewing session. One of the interesting uh, experiences I had during this remote viewing session was he had an experience of seeing something in the sky. Now, I believe it was when he was on a boat or in a vehicle of some sort. And what it was is that he saw three lights that were, he called them dancing lights. They were dancing in the sky, in the atmosphere. And he was amazed. His aesthetic impact was, he was like shocked and amazement. Now, this is really interesting because I didn't write this down here because I'm not into the reptilians and aliens and stuff like that. But I did have during the session, during this part, I did see what a person would call a reptilian just for a second, like a giant grasshopper looking thing. And like again, I'm not into that stuff, but that was part of the date, and I probably should have wrote it down here, but I didn't because I'm like I'm not sure about this, but it was part of this section. The three lights, though, he was amazed by these things. He was fascinated by this. They just seemed to be dancing around like for a while, and then he thought, there was something very unusual. It wasn't your normal star or anything. It was actually some sort of weird phenomena happening. Um, you could write a book on this guy if there wasn't a book written on him or his adventures. You could do a mini series too because he has some great stories. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. He believes them, yes. Um, and other than that, that's all I could really get for my session. I spent about 30 minutes doing it. I kept being drawn to a male who seemed to be in a leadership or a captain's type position, and I kept getting a lot of nautical, whatever it's called, sea stuff, like boat captain, boats on the river, in the ocean, that type of stuff, over and over again. I couldn't break from that, and that's all. That's my remote viewing session for Y241311.